So at 85%, this is going to be a pretty sticky dough. So to make it easy, no stretching, no folding, no kneading, just a quick mix with a spoon. And then we're going to use that key ingredient, thyme. And that's it. My name's Philip. Let's get cooking some focaccia. So to my bowl, I'm adding 185 grams of room temperature water, followed by 6 grams of sea salt. Give the mixture a quick stir to dissolve the salt, and then add in 6 grams of instant dried yeast. Now don't stress at this point, the salt is not going to kill the yeast. Add 15 grams of good quality extra virgin oil and give everything a really good mix. Now I'm adding 215 grams of strong white flour. Mine's got a protein content of 13%, and for all you guys making this at home, I'd suggest using a flour with a protein content of 12% and above. That's going to work really well. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is a high hydration dough at around 85%. So you should be able to bring this together without too much trouble, and I can do it just by using a spoon. It's going to take about 30 seconds to a minute. Now I should mention quickly that I'm going to give the measurements for this recipe in grams because there's too much variance when measuring by volume. Now don't stress over the spray bottle, you don't need it. I just used it to stop the dough sticking to my hands while I show you the consistency that you're aiming for. And that's it, the mixing is done. Cover the bowl well with a plastic bag, pop it in the fridge for 24 hours. Use a generous splash of olive oil and rub it into the tray. You don't need too much, it's really just to stop the bread from sticking to the pan. So if you're using a non-stick pan especially, just take it easy. This quantity of dough is perfect for a 24 by 34 centimeter baking tray, and I'll link to the pan that I'm using in the description. Take your dough directly from the fridge. The cold temperature makes handling a high hydration dough a lot easier. And here you can see how the dough has proved slowly overnight into a beautiful, bubbly and active dough. This long fermentation in the fridge builds really good structure and flavour. Drizzle some olive oil around the edge of the bowl and gently release the sides of the dough, and then carefully let it roll out onto your tray. Pull the dough out into a rough rectangle and then press it out to fill the tray. Now if you've used too much olive oil in the bottom of the pan, you may find this stage tricky as the dough will just slide back and won't hold shape. And if this is the case, don't stress, just cover it for 10 minutes with a plastic bag and then shape again. Once that's done, cover and prove at room temperature until the dough is well risen. My kitchen temp was 16 degrees Celsius or 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and it took about 2 hours. Now you'll know when the dough is ready because it will feel puffy and light when you give it a gentle push with your finger. Using a squeezy bottle, I'm adding a splash of water to the top of the dough, followed by a really good drizzle of olive oil. Now this is going to gather in the holes, preventing them from cooking as much as the surface, and this is what gives that really great contrast in texture. Lather your fingers up with the olive oil and gently dimple the dough down with your fingers. The aim is to create those pockets for the oil and the water to gather in. Now as you push that dough down, you're going to feel the gas pushing the dough back up around your fingers. This is really satisfying. Now all you need to do is give a really good, generous sprinkle of good quality flaky sea salt. Now I love this bread plain and straight up. It's got characteristics all of its own. But of course there are many different toppings you can use, and this one is something special. I'm using some garlic that's been slowly cooked in olive oil, cherry tomatoes that have been halved and gently roasted in the oven with olive oil, and then finished with some finely sliced white onion, and of course another drizzle of olive oil. The focaccia needs to bake quickly so we get a really good crust on the outside, but the inside crumb remains soft and hydrated. So baking on either a baking stone or a baking steel is definitely going to give the best results. Your oven needs to be preheated to 230 degrees Celsius or 445 degrees Fahrenheit. Switch it to bake mode so you've got top and bottom heat, but the fan is turned off. The focaccia needs to bake for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now keep an eye on it and be careful not to overcook that. You don't want too much colour on the top because if you do overcook it, you're going to lose those contrasting textures and run the risk of the inside drying out. As soon as it comes out, brush it with olive oil, remove it from the tray and pop it on a wire rack to cool. Right, let's give it a whirl. More. Oh wow, you get this lip smacking kind of saltiness from the top of the bread, which is fantastic. Really nice texture on the top and the bottom, and the inside remains really open, airy and soft. Now, it's a bit thicker than a traditional focaccia, but it still retains those great qualities. You've got the pockets of olive oil there, and as I said, the saltiness. Now, if you're careful and you don't overcook the top of this bread, you get this contrast in textures where the top is crispy, but the inside pocket's a little bit less cooked. As I said, great contrast in textures. So that's it from me today, guys. But I just want to say have a fantastic 2021. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again very soon. Stay tuned.